All right, everyone, welcome back. We're diving into the worlds of computer science lecturers. And wow, those RoleCatcher articles we've been poring over, they really paint a picture, don't they?
Absolutely. And something that really jumps out from these articles is how much more it is than just, well, lecturing.
Oh, like what?
Research, it's a huge part of it, like way more than people might realize. You're not just teaching existing knowledge, you're pushing the field forward.
Whoa, okay, so you're not just stuck with outdated textbooks. You're actually out there making the discoveries. That's way cooler than I initially thought.
Exactly. Imagine you could be teaching those cutting-edge AI algorithms you helped develop. Talk about being on the forefront.
Okay, now that's a serious perk.
Yeah.
But being realistic, what's the job market actually like?
Well, the RoleCatcher sources cite an 11% growth in computer science jobs, which is awesome, but...
There's always a but, isn't there?
Right, location. Some areas are flooded with grads, others need, say, cybersecurity gurus, but nobody's there.
So you can't just assume because there's demand, you're golden.
Nope, research is key. And hey, this is where those RoleCatcher tools, like that CV analyzer, can be super helpful. See how your skills match up, right?
Oh yeah, tailor your application. That's smart. Okay, but skills-wise, I was surprised it's not LL coding, is it?
Nope. These guides emphasize communication, which I admit I kind of glossed over at first. But think about it.
Wait, like explaining complex stuff clearly.
Exactly. Reading research papers, giving engaging lectures, breaking down tough concepts.
It's funny, those seem obvious, but we forget. Even a coding interview, you're explaining your code, right?
Totally. But now magnify that. A room full of students, abstract algorithms, whole other level.
You're not kidding. Okay, so it's being a computer whiz, but also a translator of that knowledge.
And proving you can do that, these articles, they're big on experience.
Not just like I took a class, but real-world stuff.
Yeah. Internships, even volunteer work stood out. It's showing, not just knowing.
So like all those side projects, those become proof you can actually apply the theory?
Exactly. It's that initiative, going beyond the textbook. That's huge EE.
Yeah, like turning those late-night coding binges into, hey, I don't just talk the talk.
Right. Shows that fire in your belly, which for teaching is huge.
Like anyone can read a map, but have you climbed that mountain? Shows you know the terrain.
And speaking of terrain, one thing these RoleCatcher articles hammered home, this career, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Always learning.
You're not just set for life once you know a few coding languages. Things change that fast.
Oh, yeah. New languages pop up, what's hot, shifts constantly. Gotta stay ahead of the curve.
So teaching the latest stuff, but also always be a student yourself. Daunting and exciting. What's the best part, though, in all that change?
For me, it's those aha moments with students. Guiding them, then bam, they get it. So rewarding.
There's something magical about those, right? When it clicks for you or you see it in someone else. Biggest takeaway for you from these guides? Anything really resonate?
Honestly, the communication bit, we think computer science, all tech, but explaining it clearly, these guides nailed how vital that is.
Makes you wonder, how many geniuses are out there but can't communicate their ideas so we never hear about them? The guides mention some paths to lecturing that aren't the typical academic route, too. What are your thoughts on those?
Things are changing, that's for sure. Real-world experience, industry work, even starting your own thing. It's less about, ooh, which fancy school, and more, what have you built?
Which makes sense, right? Students want mentors who've been in the trenches, not just the ivory tower.
Totally. And speaking of trenches, those AI tools RoleCatcher talked about, those could be game changers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Not just the CV thing. They had a whole bunch, right?
Oh.
Specifically for this field.
Yep. Analyzing job descriptions, finding keywords, even suggesting how to tweak your application to match what they're looking for.
Whoa, that's like cheating, but the good kind. No more generic resumes you're targeting like a laser beam.
Exactly. Working smarter, not harder. And in academia, every edge helps.
So anyone listening who's overwhelmed with the application process, RoleCatcher's AI could be your new best friend. It's like having an insider who knows the ropes.
Totally. But even with the best tools, the fanciest resume, it's about more than just getting hired. It's thriving in a field that never sits still.
Right back to that always learning thing, huh? Foot in the door's not enough. You got to keep growing.
Yep. And not just for you, but your students too. The best teachers, they're just as hungry to learn as those they're teaching.
It's that saying, the day you stop learning is the day you start dying.
Great.
Applies to teaching too, I guess.
100%. That passion is infectious. Speaking of passion, we've talked skills, job market learning, but what about the day-to-day? RoleCatcher glossed over that. Any surprises there, stuff people might not expect?
Ooh, good point. That deserves its own deep dive, maybe another time. But for now, being a lecturer, especially computer science, that's not for the faint of heart, huh?
It's a calling, not just a job. Lectures, grading, mentoring, your own research.
Sounds intense, but also incredibly rewarding, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. That's what those articles miss sometimes. The joy of sharing this field, that spark when someone gets it, knowing you're shaping the future.
It's a purpose, not just a paycheck, and that's rare these days.
Couldn't agree more.
It really makes you realize there's a human side to all this tech talk, you know? It's easy to forget when you're staring at code all day.
Totally. But those human connections, those are at the heart of it. Which is why, and I'm curious about this myself, those articles, they barely touched on what it's really like day to day. Any surprises there for someone thinking, this is the career for me?
Ooh, that's a whole other deep dive waiting to happen. Maybe we can explore that another time.
Yeah.
But yeah, being a lecturer, especially in a field as demanding as computer science, that's not for the faint of heart. It takes a special kind of dedication.
For sure. It's not your typical 9 to 5, that's for sure. You're constantly prepping for lectures, drowning in grading, mentoring students, not to mention staying on top of your own research.
It sounds intense, but also incredibly rewarding, right? To be shaping those young minds, sharing your passion.
Absolutely. That's the stuff they can't quite capture in those articles. That spark when a student gets it, knowing you had a hand in that.
Yeah, like you're contributing to something bigger than yourself, shaping the future of the field. That's got to feel good.
Exactly. And that brings up a question for all those aspiring lecturers out there. What part of computer science really lights your fire?
What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Yeah.
What problem are you dying to solve? Because that passion, that's contagious.
It is. And that's what makes a great teacher, not just knowing the stuff, but loving it and passing that love onto the next generation.
Well said. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? More than just the job description, we've really explored what it means to be a computer science lecturer.
Absolutely. From the essential role of research to those all-important communication skills, not to mention those handy AI tools that can give you an edge.
And most importantly, I think we highlighted the incredible impact these educators have on the future of computer science.
Yeah.
It's more than a career, it's a chance to shape minds.
Beautifully put. And on that note, I think it's time for us to sign off. But before we do, any final words of wisdom for our listeners out there?
Ooh, yes. Lay it on us. What's the one thing you want aspiring computer science lecturers to remember?
Never stop questioning. Never stop exploring. And never, ever underestimate the power of sharing your passion with others.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That wraps up this episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the world of computer science lecturers. Until next time, happy coding and even happier teaching.